Non-Americans of Reddit, what is the craziest rumor you heard about America that turned out to be true? That Hawaiians really like spam, yeah, and there's a perfectly good reason for it too. After Pearl Harbor, the effects of World War II started in the US, and rationing became a thing. Well, it turns out that it's kind of hard to get fresh rations to an island that imports a lot. So, for meat, they had to make do with spam. Human ingenuity prevails, and dishes were made. And that's how Hawaii learned to love spam. That public transport is almost non-existent in many smaller towns, which makes it a necessity for teens to have their own cars. I remember when I was younger seeing something on an American Sycamore movie, I forget, about cheese that came in some kind of spray can or a squeezy tube, and I remember thinking it was a joke. They have garbage disposals in their kitchens. That's just so wild to me. Edit. To clarify, I'm from the UK. I'm aware that they're not the same as bin/trash cans, and that they're mainly for food waste and scraps. I'm also delighted that they're called carburetors in Canada. Not me but my dad. My dad heard this crazy rumor about everyone getting drunk and wearing green for one day a year. He obviously didn't know this was a holiday and was like WTF. When he came to the US and discovered St. Patrick's Day, he was amazed. Can you really buy a gun at Walmart? We have Walmart here in Canada, but I've always wondered if you can really buy one just like that in the States. At my local Walmart you can bring your car in for an oil check, get an eye exam, get a haircut, eat lunch at the in-store Subway, purchase a gun, purchase groceries, purchase a freaking couch, and then go home once the background check for the gun is finished and the oil change is done. Edit. Yes, I get it. You don't need a background check for an oil change. I could have worded that better. Second. Edit. Other things I forgot to add. You can purchase alcohol, depending on state. Get your taxes done. Get a birthday cake made. Print pictures from a USB, phone, etc. Get dog tags made. Get spare keys made. Rent movies. Pick up a full course meal for dinner at the deli. That there are security guards, or cops, in the school's halls, and some even have metal detectors at the entrance like the TSA at airports. It's so useless. They check 1 out of every 20 students that walk through the door in the mornings, and my high school has around 5k students, and there's other entrances that don't have security. Apparently, rolling coal is actually a thing. Coal rolling is actually the worst. When I lived in Colorado, passing drivers love to do it to bicyclists. Let me tell you that that's the worst thing ever. That there are many libraries of all kinds in the United States. It's a good feature. Libraries saved my life during my preteens. Even tiny little towns have them. Now we have little libraries in pretty much every neighborhood where you can borrow or take a book and leave ones you've read or don't want anymore. They are just like oversized birdhouses with doors filled with donated books. They are on corners or near bus stops. Most of them are filled with trashy romance novels, but every now and then you can find a treasure. Injured people try to avoid getting ambulances called for them. Absolutely. I'm an American, and I have insurance, but it's terrible. I'd call an Uber and go to the hospital if there was no way to avoid going to the hospital. But I'd have to have a broken bone or something serious to go. And now a poem. His leg was in pieces. His head was a wreck. His fingers were broken, and so was his neck. His ankles were cracked, and his knees were a mess. And where were his eyeballs? That's anyone's guess. His forearms were mangled. His stomach was ripped. His skin was in slivers and shredded and stripped. His teeth were all mangled, and so were his toes. And where were his testes? Well, nobody knows. He lay in the road in a puddle of blood. They got to him quickly, as fast as they could. You must let us help you, or soon you'll be dead. He checked his insurance. No thank you, he said. That you can rack up $100,000 upward in debt easily through student loans. You can see into the public toilet cubicles Female here. I've been in bathrooms where the gap between the stall and door is so big I felt the need to cover it with my purse just to get some privacy. The absolute worst is when some mother brings her grubby-handed son on the bathroom and you see a trucking 8-year-old's eye staring at you from the other side of the door. That they're not allowed to just cross the road wherever it's safe. Jaywalking is the term, I think. That the prices on their products are without tax and you get the tax when you pay. Like here the tax is already like in the price. If it costs €1 you pay €1. That they actually do wear shoes indoors. I thought it was just a movies thing, less hassle filming, but no. The extent of the tipping culture is frankly shocking to me. My dad's girlfriend is a bartender, and she relies on tips to have a good pay. On a good day she will walk out with $200 in tips. My best friend is a waitress who also depends on tips for a good wage. She has clocked out with upwards of $300 on a good night, usually after football games. If our home team wins, a bunch of people will usually go to the restaurant she works at to celebrate with dinner. It's close to the school and really good. That women only get about 6 weeks off work after having a baby and it's most likely to be unpaid. I had to go back after 2 weeks with my last kid. Just started a new job before finding out I was pregnant about 10 weeks along. So I didn't qualify for FMLA and didn't have any vacation time. AskReddit started after 1 year. They were nice enough to let me take off 2 to 3 weeks unpaid. I stopped work a week after my due date. Baby was born a week later. I had to push back on hours and get a doctor's note to get the additional 2 weeks. My body was still recovering from the trauma of childbirth, still sore, still bleeding, still cramping, still leaking. It trucking sucked. In an area, you're subject to a truck ton of different laws. There's laws that apply to the whole country, laws that apply to individual states, laws that only apply to counties, laws that apply to individual cities, and then I think, different areas within a city. In England, no matter where you are, all the same laws apply, with very rare exceptions. Homeowners associations as well. What a load of shite. Land of the free, but your neighbor can tell you what color your trucking fence can be.
Bye, have a great time.